Anakin looks at the Senate in absolute distaste, shaking his head. The corruption was rampant. The war continues despite many calls for peace, and it was clear that the powermongers in the galaxy were continuing to profit from this war, while the people who the Jedi claimed to protect suffered immensely. For years, Anakin had wanted to change something rather than simply become a part of the system, and as Palpatine gives another one of his speeches to the galaxy about the continued security of the Republic, Anakin knows what he's going to do. He walks into the Senate pod of Padme and beckons for Ahsoka to follow. "Padme, I need to make a speech. Would you be able to slot me in after this one?" Anakin asks. "I can try. I'm sure the Senate wouldn't mind a surprise speech from a war hero, but why do you ask?" Padme inquires. Anakin smirks. "You'll see." Then, when Palpatine finishes his speech, the Senate ends up waiting in eager anticipation as Padme had managed to slot Anakin in for his speech. The revered war hero is called by Mos Amida to the center of the chamber to give his address. Anakin, looking back at Padme, who had stayed back with Senator Organa and given her pod to her husband, smiles warmly, and then he looks towards the gathered body of representatives. "Friends, I would like to say something bold today," Anakin begins. Everyone listens with bated breath, wondering what Skywalker would say next. "While I know the Chancellor is a close personal friend of mine, I've seen this war rage on for far too long. I've seen it seep into the crevices of planets that have been untouched by the damage and corruption and emotional turmoil that it's caused everywhere, and I've watched families get ripped apart. The Jedi clearly aren't going to do anything, so I will." Anakin stands boldly, taking a deep breath before continuing. "I can't stand today without standing for what I believe in. I can't stand for this corruption any longer. Effective immediately, I would like to implore that the Senate issue a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Palpatine." Everyone gasps at this, wondering if Skywalker would say anything to follow up this incredible proclamation. Palpatine's face is one of stunned shock as his mouth sits agape, staring at Skywalker. Then, Anakin smiles wider and opens his hands. "And, if you'll allow me, I would like to have the honor of filling the position of Supreme Chancellor afterwards." Have you ever wondered what would have happened if Anakin had become Chancellor during the Clone Wars? If so, then this story is for you. So sit back, grab a cold cup of Bantha Brew, and let's dive right into what if Anakin became Chancellor. As Anakin sees more and more of the war effort corrupting people and changing the Jedi Order and its character, Anakin becomes fed up. He also begins to suspect the Chancellor of being a fraud. While he is a close personal friend of Palpatine and believes him to be a good man, the rhetoric that the Jedi had talked about with regards to Palpatine invoking more and more emergency powers seemed to finally be getting into his head. He sees the corruption of not only the Republic, though, during the Clone Wars, but also the hypocrisy of the Jedi Order, leading this war and refusing to help the people who actually needed it. Anakin can't help but wonder to himself that there needs to be somebody who could change everything going on. Somebody who was popular, somebody who the galaxy liked, and who had a clear vision and charismatic personality that could sway the Senate to actually change things. So, Anakin starts thinking, perhaps he would be the one who ends up running for Chancellor. Padme and him were having a discussion about this one night. "What do you think about that, Padme?" She laughs at first. "What? Are you serious, Anakin? I didn't think you had any interest in that. You enjoy being a general, don't you?" Anakin looks back at her. "Well, of course I do, Padme, and I love my troops. However, I think I could do more in the galactic space when I'm actually involved in the politics." Padme shakes her head and smiles. "I thought you hated politics, Anakin. I thought you despised the system and the way things worked. You know, if you're Chancellor, you're going to have to bend to that system, right?" Anakin looks back at her. "Or perhaps I could change some things about the system," he says. "Maybe I could be the one that people are going to listen to. You remember in that field all those years ago when we chatted about that and I said it wasn't going to be me that would change people's minds and force them to agree? Well, maybe it should be." Padme gives him a little bit of a side eye. "What, you want to be a dictator, Anakin?" she says. "No, of course not. I just want to use my power of persuasion to really enforce my points and get people on my side, because it's clear you agree that this war has gone on for far too long and the Republic is clearly falling from its principles." "Why not me?" he says. Well, you're a Jedi, Padme replies. So? I don't think people really care about that right now, Anakin says. In fact, it probably would make me more popular. A seasoned Jedi general who wants to enter politics? I think the galaxy would love that. Padme looks at him once again. All right, whatever you say. If you want to, go ahead, she says. So, after a few more days of contemplation, and after hearing Palpatine's speech in the Senate about restoring peace and democracy, Anakin actually goes and follows through on his plan. I am calling for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Palpatine, he says, and I would like to succeed him in the position, if you'll let me. Many of the senators clap for him, believing this to be an impressive move from a bold Jedi general. Anakin, he's an outsider, and he's not a part of the system, so perhaps as a Jedi who actually cares about what's going on, he would have the capacity to change things. So, Palpatine is voted out from office, and Anakin, after a wide variety of people put their names forward, is the clear favorite during wartime. Mon Mothma gains a little bit of support, but Anakin, he has the most by far. So, Anakin is nominated to be the next Supreme Chancellor of the Republic, and Palpatine returns to his home world of Naboo in disgrace. However, he still has many powerful ears, and as he leaves the Senate, he knows that he could still have the potential to goad on Skywalker, manipulating him into the person that he wanted him to be, and transforming him into the dark warrior that would carry on the legacy of the Sith. However, he would not stop smiling, because this could all work into the grand plan of the Sith. In Anakin's first act as Chancellor, while still using the emergency powers that the Senate had instilled in him due to the war, he supports the production of clones and signs an extension to the Military Creation Act because he wants a galaxy that is secure, safe, and that actually has a military to protect it against the separatist incursions. He wants to continue the war, but to continue it quickly, and he believes that the clones are the keys to this success. While the droids outnumbered the Republic in almost every aspect, the clones were far more skillful and had far more to lose, being actually connected to each other as brothers. The Senate applauds this initiative, minus a few other folks. Padme Amidala continues to push against the extension of the Military Creation Act, along with Mon Mothma and Senator Organa. Anakin starts to become closer with Admiral Tarkin, who also is an advocate against using the generals as Jedi in the wars. He wants to see more Academy-trained officers leading the troops into battle, believing that the Jedi should be separate religious entities. General Skywalker, Tarkin says, one day as he enters his office. Yes, what is it? Tarkin, Anakin asks. I believe that your continued use of the Jedi in these situations is absolutely an affront to Republic democracy. They should be separate. The separation of church and state, after all, Tarkin says. I believe that these Jedi generals should be and will be one day relegated to simply being the monks that they deserve to be. They have poor tactical decision-making and are part of the reason why the separatists have been dominating this war, Tarkin says. Anakin looks back at him. Are you sure about that? I've seen many Jedi generals, including myself, who actually have a connection to their clone soldiers. Do you really think that the Academy officers would? Do you really think that they would be able to sense each of their individual presences in the Force? Do you really think that anyone other than the Jedi could use battle meditation to encourage their troops to win and have higher morale? No, Tarkin, I don't think you're seeing the big picture on this one. I am going to continue using the Jedi generals until the end of this war, Anakin replies. So be it, Tarkin says. But when they fail, and they inevitably will, don't you come complaining to me, he says, before marching out of his office. Because Anakin is still a member of the Jedi Order, and they haven't actually kicked him out because there are no technical rules that he's breaking by becoming Chancellor, Ahsoka continues to apprentice under Skywalker. She ends up learning a lot about the galactic governance, the systems that operate the Republic, far more than she did simply by being a commander in the war and being friends with Padme Amidala. Now, she can actually see the moving pieces and understand everything that's going on in the background. She knows the command decisions. She knows how the Chancellor walks through his process of consulting advisors and going to the Senate and consulting advocacy groups and even consulting the Jedi on many issues. Anakin still seeks the counsel of many people, less so the Jedi Council, but he leans an ear to Obi-Wan frequently, along with Yoda.
Believe that you are wise in telling Tarkin to screw away with his ideas. I do,
Yoda says. Oh, and why's that, Yoda? Anakin says after a military briefing in which the idea of discussing the disbandment of the Jedi General Corps was raised.
The Jedi, strong we are. Capable we are. Want this war to end? We do,
Yoda says.
The Jedi Council, on your side, we are. Serve you, Skywalker, we will. You serve you, we will not. Believe so, Tarkin does. But believe that I do not. Under my control, the Council is. And under my control, this galaxy, safe it will be. Secure it will be,
Yoda says cheerfully. Anakin nods to his old friend. Well, that's good to know, Yoda. I'll keep that in mind. And I will keep you guys in check, though, Anakin says. I don't believe in the Jedi mingling in the affairs of the state. So, if any of you do step out of line, I will start listening to Tarkin, and I will revoke your authority. Yoda nods.
Fair this is, he says. Continue to apprentice under you. Young Tano should.
I believe so as well, Anakin says. The meeting is adjourned, and even though there's still stuff going on in the galaxy and the war continues to rage, Sidious still has power, and he still consults Dooku. He tells him to ramp up the attacks on worlds within the Republic. He tells Dooku that he had lost his authority in the Senate, but still had many powerful ears that would listen to him, especially if the Republic started taking heavy losses. So, Dooku decides to make an incredibly bold move, and he secretly sends Admiral Trent to conduct a surprise attack on the Corellian shipyards that had supplied a significant number of Venators to the Republic. Trench's forces absolutely pound the facility, while the Republic forces there are formidable, and they have many clone pilots to counter the strike, along with a significantly skilled crew of a mix of officers that are Jedi, Academy graduates, and specific clone soldiers who manage to fight off the Separatists. They are overwhelmed by Trench's tactics, combined with the incredible amount of vulture droids, buzz droids, and other Federation ships that absolutely annihilate them. They're decimated, and the Federation, with this attack, manages to take Corellia, using its shipyards now to produce things for them and not for the Republic. This is a huge blow, especially after all the laser fire was exchanged and the big blows happened between Venators and between Trade Federation flagships. What an absolutely incredible battle it was, and many officers put up a significant fight against the droids. However, it is not enough, and Corellia falls to Separatist hands. Anakin is absolutely taken aback by this while he's sitting in his office one day and hears of the attack from Admiral Yularen.
General Skywalker,
Yularen says, bursting into the room uncharacteristically. Yes, sir. What is going on? He says. Well, Anakin had become close with Tarkin. Yularen had been appointed to his chief of staff due to their extensive service together in the past. So Anakin trusts Yularen and knows that he's not in it for any of his own purposes. He also knows that Yularen is close with the clones and an effective Academy graduate.
Corellia has been taken by the Separatists,
Yularen snaps, saluting Skywalker and coming to attention. No need for the formalities, Skywalker says, especially not in a situation like this.
Yes, sir,
Yularen says, coming back to his senses.
Corellia has been hit by Separatist forces and is now under their occupation and control.
He then shows Anakin a holotape of the event, which makes the young Chancellor's blood boil. As a Jedi, he knows that he shouldn't indulge his feelings of hatred towards the Separatists for attacking one of their major planets. However, he also knows that this rage comes from a care for his people, not from a place of hatred towards the Separatists or Dooku. So, he then does something radical. Yularen, I'm ordering an emergency session of the Senate. He says, I need to address this now, and I need to address the people of the galaxy.
Yes, sir.
Any orders for your military at the moment? Yularen says. Skywalker shakes his head. No, we can't do anything about the Corellia situation now. I have another plan going forward, and if that fails, I will give a plan to the military. Continue what you're doing, Admiral, he says.
Yes, sir, Chancellor Skywalker.
Yularen snaps, once again saluting him as he exits the room. Ahsoka then begins to inquire about how Anakin's going to respond. What are you going to do, Master? She says. Anakin simply says that he is going to do what any good leader would do. I'm going to lead by example, Snips, he replies, and hopefully the Separatists will agree to stand down. A few hours later, Anakin stands before the Senate in his glorious podium, and he looks towards all of his senators, wondering what was going to happen next and how his words were going to be received. Friends, I'm sure that some of you have heard from the Holo News, he begins, but I have a grave tragedy to announce today. The Separatists have taken Corellia. This sends a shockwave through the Senate. Outraged cries come from many senators, especially the one from the sector that Corellia was in. We want revenge, one of them says. Chants of down with the Confederacy emanate through the halls of the glorious Senate chambers. Anakin motions for his people to quiet down. He then continues his speech. I know that this is a tragedy that certainly shook my heart, and it made me incredibly outraged, Anakin says. He looks around at his people. And I believe in a strong military that will protect the Republic at all costs, he continues. However, in this instance, I am willing to reach out a hand to the Separatists, he continues. I am somebody who's from the Outer Rim. I was a slave. I saw the conditions there. I know what they must be feeling, and as a Jedi, it is my duty to attempt to have compassion for them. I understand the plights of the Separatists, and I want to invite you back so that we can work together to build a stronger Republic, one that we can unify behind. This Republic has stood for over 1,000 years, Anakin says. He looks around, seeing the reactions of the senators throughout the various chambers and pods. I want to see it stand for longer, Anakin continues. And we can't do that with the Confederacy separating from us. We must work together. He looks towards Senator Amidala. A wise woman once said to me that this war stems not from animosity towards each other, but from a failure to listen. And I am willing to listen if the Confederacy is interested in returning to the Republic and creating peace, Anakin says. The Senate chambers are still silent, transfixed on their leader. This is Dooku's one and only chance, Anakin says, reaching out his hand towards the senators. I am inviting you, Count, with open arms to rejoin the Republic and to negotiate what they need for the Outer Rim. I am willing to go the distance because I know the corruption that exists out there, and I know what the Outer Rim needs, he says. I am a man from Tatooine, and I can see that all of the Separatist concerns are legitimate. Dooku, I implore you, reach your hand back across the aisle and let us shake. Anakin finishes his speech, looking towards the crowds, which sit in stunned silence, clearly not expecting this from the War General Skywalker. This was a move from a diplomatic chancellor, not a seasoned battle veteran. However, Padme starts clapping and stands. Once this is heard by other senators, many other who have the same response echo their cries of affection towards Skywalker. Some of them do not. Many of the ones who were chanting down with the Confederacy earlier still look at him towards with animosity. However, much of the Senate is on his side, and they simply want an end to the war. Anakin hopes that his speech will be enough, and he bows, waiting for Dooku's next move. As Dooku is sitting in his desk on Sereno, watching Anakin's address, he's actually quite shocked. He's acting a way that a Jedi should, which stuns the Sith Master. Part of the reason that he had left the Jedi was because they were starting to become too dogmatic, narrow-minded, and focused on their own power rather than listening to the focuses and beliefs of the people. However, after he calls Sidious, Dooku ends up not reciprocating. "My lord, what are we supposed to do?" Dooku says in a hushed hologram call with his master. "Do not fall for his tricks," Sidious replies. "This is merely a ploy for him, because he knows that the Republic is going to lose the war." Sidious continues. "Do not negotiate with Skywalker. You have the troops to annihilate his clone forces. Proceed with full force." He then hangs up the call, and Dooku knows what he has to do. He goes to the Separatist Parliament the next day and gives a mighty speech about how this was all just theater from the Republic, meant to distract the galaxy from how the Separatists were winning the war. "I believe, my fellow senators," he starts, "that this is simply manufactured propaganda from Skywalker, who is going to insist on absurd demands from his position. He has no authority to negotiate with us." He continues, "We are the Confederacy of Independent Systems, and we do not want to be one with the Republic anymore. We want independence, because they, for years, have oppressed and made us feel less than. What is to think that Skywalker will be any different than other chancellors once he loses his emergency power? He'll be mired down in the bureaucracy as well. No, we continue this war, and we will win." There's a raucous applause from the Separatist Parliament, and in response to Anakin, he issues another surprise siege that is under the command of General Grievous, and one of the most infamous tactical droids on the Republic planet of Alderaan. Once again, the Republic is absolutely thrown off by this attack on a core system, one that is ultimately successful due to Grievous's brutality as he slashes through clones and Jedi with his crazy, insane lightsaber moves. Grievous is incredibly successful, and he cackles as he takes down some of the finest Jedi commanders in the Order. He also loves just running his blade through the clone soldiers who try to shoot at him and are unsuccessful. The droid armies absolutely overwhelm the peaceful planet of Alderaan, and Grievous enters the palace. He then sees the royal family there, with Bail and his wife, the Queen of Alderaan, and he smiles. He then ends up absolutely killing them, slaughtering them in cold blood, even as they put up a good fight. Bail tries to blast the intruder, but he is no match for the battle-hardened General Grievous, who has no qualms at all with genocide to accomplish his goals. The planet of Alderaan is taken from the Republic, and once again, a critical political point for the Republic is seized. Another thing that happens during this attack is that Obi-Wan is brutally wounded by Grievous as he's trying to protect the royal family, along with being overwhelmed by many battle droids, including the elusive commando droids. Obi-Wan is knocked unconscious and brutally maimed, but fortunately, after Grievous leaves the room, Cody and their retreating 212th Battalion, who had been protecting the planet, end up grabbing him and bringing him to safety, putting him in a bacta tank. While he is insanely injured, at least this is going to be a safe space for him at the moment. When Anakin hears of his plan to create good faith with the Separatists being rejected, he is absolutely outraged, especially after hearing that the royal family had been massacred. "Sir, I have grave news to report," Yularen says as he once again enters Anakin's office. "Alderaan has been taken by the Separatists, much like Corellia." His tone is much more hushed and far less enthusiastic than normal, so Anakin knows that Yularen is legitimately concerned. I see. Then, Anakin also sees Palpatine on a talk show that night. "So, former Senator of Naboo," the host says, "we've got you on our show tonight and we want to talk politics. What do you think of Chancellor Skywalker's handling of this current situation in the war?" Palpatine then smiles. Oh, I admire the young boy, I truly do. He's a good politician and a good Jedi. He's a good man at heart, but I don't think he can manage a war. If this were my leadership, none of this would have happened, Palpatine says. I would have controlled the situation and kept things calm, but, again, I wish the young man the best of his abilities to continue to lead the Republic. I simply hope that it does not collapse. This leaves Anakin speechless. He's incredibly frustrated by the fact that his old mentor would turn against him like that. But he could understand, as he had turned against Palpatine in the beginning. He's then very distraught to hear of Obi-Wan being injured, so he goes to see the unconscious Obi-Wan, and he sits by his bed while he's in a coma. Obi-Wan, I'm going to win the war for you, Anakin says, and for the Republic that you dearly love. You're my brother, you've always been there for me, he says on the verge of tears. I am going to win this war for you, Obi-Wan. At that moment, Padme and Yoda come in, and they see Anakin in tears. He looks at them, and his eyes are grave. Dooku's going to regret his actions, Anakin says. He then walks out of the room, and Yoda is concerned. Anakin contacts Yularen and tells him to prepare the military for a massive siege of Sereno. Yes, Chancellor, right away. Then Anakin smiles. And make sure that I'm going there too. Yularen is taken aback by this. What? Chancellor, you can't possibly think that you are going to Sereno on this massive siege. Anakin smiles. I want Dooku to know that I am exacting revenge on him myself. And I want to lead by example. I don't want to send troops into battle if I'm not going myself. He continues. But Anakin, you've gone to so many battles before, your troops know that you are for them. Anakin looks back at Yularen. This is different. I am going, no questions asked. Yularen shakes his head. Whatever you say, Chancellor. Soon, the Republic would finally defeat Dooku.
A dark path, young Skywalker, you are treading,
Yoda says. I tried the Jedi way. It doesn't work in politics, Anakin says. I was crushed by the Separatists, and I'm not going to let that happen again to my people. He turns his head to Yoda once again as he's leaving. I see how weak the Jedi have become. You're strong in battle, but weak-willed. I will not be weak-willed, and I am going to do what it takes to save my people. Maybe that's why we're losing the war. I've been listening to you too much. He walks out, angry, frustrated, and sad. He then asks Ahsoka a big favor. Ahsoka, I need you to do me a favor, and it's totally okay if you don't accept. Anakin starts. Oh yes, what is it, Master? She continues. I think you've learned enough under my tutelage. I think that it's time for you, Ahsoka, to take the reins of the Chancellorship while I'm gone. It won't be for long, I swear. I promise that I'll be back, but I want you to step up as interim Chancellor, at least for the moment. When I return, I'll take the reins again, but I think that this could be a valuable learning experience for you, especially given the past few months that we've endured. Anakin asks, How do you feel about that, Snips? Ahsoka's eyes go wide. She's shocked that Anakin has offered her this position. She would have the most responsibility of anyone in the galaxy. She would be the one calling the shots, and she would be the one giving the speeches in the chamber of the Senate. It's okay, Snips. If you're too scared or don't feel comfortable, it's fine, Anakin says. Ahsoka smiles. No, I'm okay with it, Anakin. I can actually help people this way, just like you, Master, she says. Anakin looks at her and smiles. I knew you would say yes, he says. All right, well, I'm heading out. I'm going to announce that you are the interim Chancellor, and then I'm leaving with the army, he says. Anakin departs and pronounces Ahsoka to be interim Chancellor of the Republic, shocking everyone due to her young age. But he says that he has full faith in her, and she is surrounded by a community of solid aides and officials to help guide her in the right direction, along with the Jedi Council, who Anakin admits that he'd had his trust shaken in, but he knows that the Jedi Council will guide her, at least down the correct moral path. Anakin departs with the military, and he looks Rex in the eye. "You ready for one more round, soldier?" he says. Rex salutes him. "Absolutely, Anakin," he replies. "It's good to have you back, General Skywalker. I've missed you in this politics games." Anakin smiles. "Oh, I know, Rex. And this time, this is going to be the end of the Confederacy." When Anakin and the entire Republic fleet, or at least a good chunk of what was available, emerge atop Sereno, Anakin is ready. He proclaims to the galaxy via hologram that while he's traveling, he is going to attack Sereno, alongside Admiral Yularen and Admiral Tarkin. "While I'm gone, Ahsoka will be Chancellor," he says. "Even though she's young, I have faith in her abilities." When Anakin's forces emerge above Sereno, a massive naval battle ensues. The surprise element of the Republic allows them to break through quickly, with ARC fighters dancing through the various vulture droids and blasting them to shreds, along with Anakin and his starfighter leading the 501st down to the surface to begin to siege the main city. Anakin's resolve and rage come out, and he takes down battle droids left and right, using his skill with a lightsaber to slice through their metal surfaces or force push them into oblivion. Anakin uses inspiration through battle meditation as well to help his troops, closing his eyes just for a brief second to give that burst of energy that the 501st and all of the other clones present need. Luckily, the skill of Republic forces managed to outdo the numbers of the Separatists in this case. Anakin's forces enter Dooku's palace, overwhelming the droids, and they manage to make it to Dooku's throne room by blocking every single exit. The Count is unable to escape this time. He enters and points his saber in Dooku's direction. "Surrender, Dooku," he says. "This is your last warning." Dooku smiles. "Ah, Skywalker. We shall see what happens," he says. "My powers have doubled since the last time we met, Count," Anakin spits back. Dooku's smile widens even more. "Good. Twice the pride, double the fall," Dooku continues. Some of the clones attempt to fire at Dooku during this exchange, but their blasts are deflected by the mastery of the Sith Lord. They're mesmerized by Anakin and Dooku dancing in an elaborate saber duel, their blades mere blurs, and their forms and figures distorted by the whirlwind of the Force that they were dueling with. Anakin is ferocious, but so is Dooku, knowing when to parry his strikes. However, Anakin's youth and vivacity are overcoming Dooku's old age and experience. While Dooku is still very powerful with the Force and tries to electrocute Anakin on multiple occasions, the young Chancellor simply blocks him away before striking him again, and eventually, Anakin's physical prowess and fitness manage to overpower Dooku, who is old and starting to get frail. Anakin strikes and strikes and strikes again until he knocks the lightsaber out of Dooku's hands, and then cuts his hands off, putting his lightsaber to his throat. Dooku smiles. "Oh, it is not the Jedi way to kill an unarmed opponent," Dooku says. Anakin looks at him with ferocity in his gaze. "Well, it's a good thing I'm here on Republic business, old man. This is for the Republic," Anakin says before decapitating the Count, just like he does in Revenge of the Sith. The Separatist figurehead is defeated, and his forces are without guidance on the planet, as the tactical droid is also destroyed by Rex in that instant. The Republic successfully seizes Sereno, and Anakin has received his retribution. When Anakin returns to Coruscant, he is praised and glorified as a hero, the warrior Chancellor. Palpatine congratulates his successor in a public announcement on his homeworld of Naboo, and he says that Anakin had demonstrated a strong presence when it is needed. "Perhaps my comments a few days ago on the air were slightly early," Palpatine says. "I think I spoke preemptively about the Chancellor, and I believe that he is a powerful source of incredible charisma, wisdom, and strength for this great Republic. Without Dooku, the Confederacy begins to collapse as the corporations start to lose unified interest in the war, and they begin fighting with Grievous, not believing that he has their best interests in heart and that he will be able to protect them. The various planets in the Parliament also stop seeing eye to eye, and the Separatist government fractures without a clear successor to Dooku as a unifying figure. While people such as Newt Gunray and General Grievous still actively seek separation from the Republic, they disagree on the means of achieving this goal. Corellia and Alderaan are taken back by the new clone forces that Anakin has commissioned after this event happens, and the Jedi generals who take the planets are considered heroes by the Republic at large. Obi-Wan continues to recover, and Anakin publicly acknowledges his bravery alongside Ahsoka, as Cody, Rex, and Wolf are given medals of honor by the Republic government for their contributions to the liberation of the major worlds under the Separatist grip. Tarkin is also venerated as a hero, as his tactics led to Trench's defeat above Corellia. Anakin negotiates the reintegration of many of the Separatist factions into the Republic, but Grievous and Gunray refuse to sign these agreements. They're then labeled as terrorists by the galaxy at large and the Republic government, and Anakin directs his clone forces to hunt them down and try to eliminate them, especially Delta Squad, the Bad Batch, and many other Special Forces units. The Jedi stepped down as generals after the war at the behest of Anakin, who once again had become frustrated with their involvement despite his respect for them. Anakin then proceeds to revoke his emergency powers and restore the Republic's control back to the Senators. Relatively speaking, Anakin's galaxy is at peace, and he retires to take care of his children on Naboo. There, Palpatine begins to weave his way back into Anakin's life slowly, apologizing for how things had ended between the two of them and reflecting on his chancellorship with an air of penance. Anakin gladly accepts Palpatine back into his life, and he becomes a little bit of a grandfather figure for the children. While Padme knows that Sheev is a shrewd politician, and she is slightly suspicious of him after knowing him for many years and being one of the proponents of peace to end the war effort in which his emergency powers had continued on for far too long, she knows that he's a good family friend from her youth, and she still trusts him as a mentor figure. The galaxy is at peace, but the shadows still lurk that haven't yet been discovered. Hey there team, thanks for watching today's video. Actually, everybody in the last one loved Boss Nass so much that I invited him back to do a little debrief following this video. So, I'd like to introduce Boss Ruger Nass to the crowd once again, and I'll start off by just asking, what did you think of this video?
Oh, Misa thinking that this video was very bombad. Misa been liking the political intrigue of the whole thing, and Misa been liking how Senator Palpatine still be working in the shadows, prompting Anakin Skywalker to be the bombad killer of the Count Dooku.
Oh, so you liked the episode, hey there, Mr. Nass.
Oh, Misa be loving the episode, but Misa be thinking that Misa wanting some more Gungans in the episode.
Oh, you want more Gungans? How do you suggest we put more Gungans in?
Oh, Misa be thinking that maybe the big Gungan Grand Army be coming at the end and helping out with the siege of Sereno and Master Skywalker's big victory.
Oh, interesting. Also, interesting that you called him Master Skywalker. I don't ever remember him getting promoted to the rank of Master by the Jedi Council.
Oh, Misa be thinking that his actions in the war and as Chancellor be making him the rank of Master in Misa heart. Misa liking Anakin in this story.
Very interesting. It's very interesting to hear what you have to say. And I also just wanted to follow up. Last time you were in here, you showed me a massive force power that you had. Yes, that one. And now I'm going to have to change again. Thanks for that. But you said you were going to go and talk to the Jedi about it. Did they get back to you at all?
Oh, the big Jedi no sa liking me. Me sa thinking that they sa no like the Gungans.
Oh, really? You don't think they like Gungans? Why is that?
Misa rarely been seeing the Gungans as the Jedi. Misa thinking that we sa be needing more representation in the big order.
Oh, do you now? Interesting. And why do you think that, Mr. Nass?
Well, we coming from a small population, but we be having a big say. Chancellor Palpatine, well, he's from the Naboo, he's been helping us. He's friends with Padme Amidala and Master Skywalker that you been talking about in this video. Me thinking that we be needed more bombad Gungans in the Jedi Order. Interesting. And what do you have to say about, the insinuations that Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord? I know that's crazy, right? But what do you have to say about that one? Oh, Misa no thinking that one's crazy. He's somehow be managing to convince me that big buffoon, the one that Misa exiled for his clumsiness, he's convinced Misa to make him the Bombad General. And he's lost. He's lost the battle. Hey, Misa seeing him do these big decent flips into the lake. Misa thinking that he's no just a little Gungan. No, when Misa seeing him give that speech about Palpatine, Misa thinking that Misa may have the big force, hoosey dooey force. Really? Interesting to hear your perspective on that, Boss Nass. We might have to have him on the show one day too. Well, thank you again for joining us, and I really appreciate it whenever you come to see us. It's very nice to hear your perspectives. It's always great to hear the Gungans. Again, like you said, you guys are underrepresented in the media, and I think that this is always great to have you out here. Oh, Misa be thinking that the pleasure is mine. Now, Misa gonna go out and try to find out if Jar Jar Binks is the Sith Lord. Well, I am hoping that you can come back and report your findings to us. Would you like to say a few words before you leave, Boss Nass? Oh no, sir. Misa gonna leave that to you, sir, this time. Thank you, Mr. Nass. Well, thanks for joining us, Boss Nass, and thanks for joining us, viewers. I just wanted to say that if you want to talk to Boss Nass and if you want to talk to me, you guys should join the Discord server. It's fun, it's bopping, we're having a good time, and it's a great community of Star Wars lovers like us that's very respectful, and I would love to see you there and chat with you. In addition, if you like this video, please comment below what you'd like to happen in the next episode. Do you think that there should be a part 2? If so, what do you think would happen? Thank you all for watching today, and as always, I would like to wish you a very bantatacular rest of your day. Boss Nass, are you sure that you don't want to say anything before the video ends? Oh, Misa wanted to say one thing. Can Misa say the line? Oh, Yusa can say the line, Boss Nass. Oh, great. And as always, Misa hoping that Yusa be getting your daily, delicious bombad dose of the bantha stew. Hey, that was a great job, Boss Nass. Now don't you come coming for my job, though. I think the viewers are gonna like you if you keep popping in. Oh, don't you worry, Misa busy elsewhere, but thank you. Anyway, have a great rest of your day, everyone. And as Boss Nass said, I hope that you've had your daily delicious dose of bantha stew.